tell me about your weakness is probably the second most hated question in an interview, probably only after tell me about the time when you failed. And needless to say, the reactive approach here is to simply duck the question, to go with generic answers such as, you know, I work too much, which would be a very bad example, by the way, or you're an introvert, or you don't like public speaking, and you know, these types of generic answers. But what's important here is the behavior. It's actually you're ducking the question, trying to manage, you're in damage control. When in fact, I think there's a so much better, considerably better approach here to not only, you know, talk about your true weakness, but furthermore, score points in the interview and differentiate yourself from other candidates and eventually land the job because of this, because of your weakness. And let me give an example. I recently spoke with someone applying for an Amazon job for a technical role, but a role that is a customer facing one, which is standard procedure with most AWS jobs. And like 95% of candidates, he was not coming from a big 5 company. So I noticed he really struggled answering customer obsession questions. Because, you know, if you're not coming from one of these companies, chances are, you know, your company is not customer obsessed. It's as simple as this. And for this, I came up with the idea, hey, John, what if you say that customer obsession is not your strength, actually, in a job interview? And they said, oh, Dan, how could you possibly think about this? I mean, Amazon's mission is to be Earth's most customer centric company. So how on earth can I go with this thing? And they will disqualify me from the first shot. Well, in fact, from my perspective, you're applying for the top 0.1% best paid jobs in the world. So your idea is to really show yourself as a different type of candidate when applying for this role. And furthermore, if you're technically strong, technically sound, more likely your your employer will be more interesting for hiring for attitude, not for your skill set. So what if you employed an attitude like, hey, during my previous companies, customer obsession was not a thing, so this is something I must really improve on. In my opinion, this is a unique opportunity to significantly differentiate yourself from other candidates, because you'd be straightforward and not give boring answers to such pretty important questions, if you think about it. Because together with the failure stories, it's very hard to admit what's your failure, right? Or your weakness. So if you go this way to really dive deep and find what's that one thing that you're not good at, you're not really good at, but you acknowledge it and you think it must improve. And by the way, I just made a video on saying that going through Amazon's leadership principles, for example, would allow you to spot what's that one thing that you're not doing that great with. But even if regardless of Amazon, try to see on the behavioral questions, what do you struggle the most with? What answers do you struggle the most with? If you struggle the most with failure stories, probably because you don't like taking negative feedback, right? Which is another opportunity for you to focus on this attitude thing. And emotional answers can go a very long way, especially in today's interviews, when you know, emotional intelligence is such a keyword, you know, for most employers and in specialty literature. So in my opinion, you should pick that one weakness that's truly a weakness, embrace it, take ownership of that weakness, and focus on communicating it in such an emotional way, so that you know, your interviewer will actually understand that you are the type of person who is really looking to improve themselves, who's really acknowledging as realistic candidate for the job that you're applying for.